Imagine for a moment, what if Canon made the 400mm f2.8 even lighter, sharper, without giving up that magic that made it a pro favorite? Well, that's exactly what Canon's working on, and if you've ever dragged a big white lens through the wild, this might be the relief your spine's been begging for. But first, please punch that subscribe button. Thanks an awful lot. It really means an awful lot to us. It's kind of like giving a toddler a sushi knife. While he's totally delighted, it's absolutely terrifying, although somewhat adorable. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. My name's Simon, and I'm your photographic correspondent, with a compulsion for digging through all the camera news and rumor sites so that you don't have to. Today we've got news on an update to the Canon RF 400mm f2.8 L image stabilized USM, and it's shaping up to be lighter, sharper, and better balanced than anything that came before it, at least in the pro super telephoto space. According to Canon patent application JP 2025-114982, Canon outlines three separate lens embodiments alongside the 400mm, the 300mm f2.8, and the 500mm f4. All three of these lenses are designed for full-frame mirrorless cameras, high-end mirrorless cameras, and they all include image stabilization. And these are familiar focal lengths. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that's been following Canon or photography for a long time. But as with every RF lens that Canon's released over the past 5 years, well, each revision becomes lighter, smaller, and optically better than the lenses that they replace. And when Canon says lighter and smaller, what they really mean is better balanced and easier to handle. We've seen several patent applications this year alone that tweak the layout of the lens elements, typically fixing the first and last groups in place, while designing the focus and image stabilization groups and other medium groups to be smaller and better balanced. And smaller in this case definitely means lighter. And that's significant, especially since lens elements are made of glass, and glass, well, it's got to be one of the heaviest components within a lens. Oh, and one thing I pointed out in previous videos, Canon rearranges the placement of the elements within each group, and looking at various Canon patent applications, including this one, 2025-114982, Canon's shifting the heavier elements closer to the lens mount. That pulls the center of gravity towards the camera body, which improves balance for handheld shooting and also on gimbals. At the same time, Canon's reducing the total number of components, or using smaller ones. This further cuts down on the weight, as well as the cost. And because the layout is more efficient, it improves upon image quality. We're talking sharper corners, less chromatic aberration, and better contrast, all while making the lens easier to use. Canon's approach to designing lenses is clear with every new lens that they announce. Less weight, better balanced, and sharper images, all built natively for mirrorless, the mirrorless mount, the RF mount, the RFS mount, not the EF mount. That's all gone and done with. And the 400mm f2.8, well, it's getting an update. We've seen some interesting design ideas. Canon has even proposed using carbon fiber in high-end telephoto lenses, as the one we see here in JP 2025-085661. Will we see carbon fiber in the refresh of the 400mm f2.8? Well, I can see how that would make sense. I mean, after all, it lines up with Canon's goal of building lighter lenses without compromising durability. But using carbon fiber, that would indicate that Canon solved some of the problems with carbon fiber. At this point, I'm not willing to suggest it. I'm just telling you that when it comes to building smaller lenses, lighter lenses with less components and better image quality, Canon is really serious about this. I would say over the last 3 years alone, I've seen 50 to 100 patent applications that constantly talk about making lens lighter, smaller, and optically better. And not just at lenses, high-end lenses like the 400mm f2.8 that we're talking about here, but also in, well, more affordable lenses. Turning our attention to the lens embodiments, the 300mm f2.8 is stabilized and has a focal length of 290mm, an aperture of f2.8, and a total length of 326mm. And of course, the image height is designed for full-frame cameras. The 400mm f2.8 is also image stabilized. It's got a focal length of 387mm and is 369mm long. And the 500mm has an aperture of f4, a focal length of 484mm, and a total length of 434mm. What each of these lens embodiments or lens designs share is a compact, well, more compact length than previous versions, image stabilization, and full frame coverage for RF mount cameras like the recently released Canon EOS R1, the R3, and the R5 Mark II. But just because there are 3 lens designs in this patent application doesn't mean we'll see all 3 lenses make it to the market. Now, my money is on the 400mm f2.8 as being the lens that makes the first appearance. It's hugely popular amongst pro sports and wildlife photographers. The EF 400mm f2.8 image stabilized USM version 3 is Canon's last DSLR version of the 400mm, weighing in at 2,840 grams and 343 millimeters long. Compare that to the updated RF version at 369 millimeters long, but significantly lighter. If you're out tracking wildlife or covering sports events, you know how punishing a heavy lens can be. A lighter 400mm f2.8 doesn't exactly change the game, but it does matters. It's the difference between getting the shot or giving up because your arms have turned into pudding, being unable to hold the lens steady. In this 3-hour excursion, I got some incredible footage of orcas, humpback whales, and stinky seals. But by the end of the tour, well, my arms were feeling rather rubbery and not really paying attention to my inputs. And if Canon's improving upon the optics, as they always do, we can expect better contrast, sharper corners, and smoother tone, all in a lens that's faster, smaller, and easier to shoot with. Josh, if you're watching, this could be your next lens purchase once it's announced. But please, if you do end up purchasing this, please reach out to me on your used price, your best used price for the current version of the 400mm f2.8 that you're shooting with. The 300mm f2.8 also appears as a modern refresh in this patent application. But don't get your hopes up too much. Canon already released the 100 to 300mm f2.8 IS, or image stabilized USM, which gives you 300mm at f2.8 with zoom flexibility. It's lighter than expected, brilliantly sharp, and already fills the role as a 300mm f2.8. So I wouldn't be betting on the 300mm showing up as a standalone prime anytime soon. Canon's already checked that box, and then some. But there is the 500mm f4. This one is a little bit more likely. Canon doesn't currently offer an RF version of the 500mm prime, although rumors have floated around for many years suggesting that it's just around the corner. Personally, I'd rather see a 150 to 600mm f4. That to me would get me a lot more excited. A long-range zoom before, well, any other big white prime. But that's me personally. Maybe you're different. But if Canon's following their traditional lineup, and this is where I think they might be going with this patent application here, the 500mm could easily be next, alongside the 400mm f2.8. So what's the real-world value here for photographers and filmmakers for lenses that are going to cost somewhere around $10,000 or more? Well, the RF 400mm f2.8 is image stabilized. It's an L series and it's a USM. It gives us top-tier optical performance, a lighter load, and, well, faster autofocus on mirrorless bodies. And it gives us a more balanced feel when shooting handheld or on monopods. It's everything that a pro needs in the field, without the bulk of older DSLR era glass. If Canon prices it reasonably, and that's a relative term, which, let's be honest, means it's probably going to be somewhere right around the price point of where it is today, plus maybe a little bit more, just, well, for the trouble of making the lens. This will be the flagship telephoto for years to come for sports and wildlife photographers. So if you have the Canon RF 400mm f2.8, the current version, the good news is an update is in development. alongside updated designs for the 300 and 500mm. All three focused on lighter builds, better optics, and real-world usability. Now, whether you're shooting the Olympics, bald eagles, or your neighbor's overly dramatic golden retriever, this lens, the 400mm, is built to deliver. I think the 500 as well. But the question is really, again, at you. You're a shooter. You're a pro shooter. What do you think? Will you hold out for the 500mm f4? Or is the 400mm f2.8 version 1 your dream lens? If you have the 400mm f2.8 now, the RF version, would this new updated version, if it's faster, lighter, and smaller, would it work for you? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Ring that bell as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's very much appreciated. And we'll see each other again soon.